Welcome to the Informed Conservative Podcast, where along with the Informed Conservative blog, we bring you the best in conservative news, opinion, and conversation. Visit us online at informedconservative.us, follow us on Twitter at ConserveBlog, and join the conversation on our Facebook page.
Good morning. It's Saturday, March 23rd, 2019. Thank you for tuning in to the Informed Conservative, broadcasting live from our studio in New Jersey. My guest today is JR Carman, founder of the New Jersey Constitutional Republicans. If you'd like to speak to JR this morning, give us a call, 646-564-9883. Before we get to JR, let me share that the March on Trenton will take place this Tuesday, March 26th. The organizers will demonstrate Governor Murphy's ineffective gun control measures, sanctuary status, taxes, and anti-business climate that is chasing jobs and residents from the state. More information can be found at www.wethepeopleofnj.com. Also, the New Jersey Constitutional Republicans will be having their March meeting on Thursday, March 28th at 6 p.m. at the Grove at Centerton, which is located at 1022 Almond Road in Elmer. The topic will be campaigning to win, and featured speakers will include New Jersey GOP Chair Doug Steinhardt, New Jersey GOP State Director Rob Freelon, and New Jersey State Committee member Bill Vey. This is a unique opportunity to discuss the Republican resurgence and what candidates can do throughout the state to ensure Republican victories. More information can be found at the New Jersey Constitutional Republicans website at newjerseyconstitutionalrepublicans.com. We seem to be having a technical difficulty. JR, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Mike.
All right, good. I'm glad we connected. Good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning.
It's a great pleasure to be with you, Mike. Looking forward to the hour.
You know, it's interesting. I don't know if you heard afterwards, but you and I were both on hold on the Bob and Steve show this morning to promote you being on my podcast this morning.
That's correct. That was great that you called in, and I was happy to inform them that I'd be joining you this morning, and also giving them the information you just gave with your intro to the show now. So I appreciate the support and the information.
So let's jump right into it. Tell us about the New Jersey Constitutional Republicans.
Certainly. A couple of years ago now, it's been 2.5 years ago, I came up with the idea of creating a group that could work within the Republican Party in New Jersey, basically that would be representative of fiscal and social conservatives, and basically hearkening back to the initial principles of the Republican Party, which basically Abraham Lincoln articulated prior to the Civil War. And I believed and I saw that there needed to be a restitution of these principles within the party, and the Republican Party basically has become too progressive, if you will, over a long period of time, really since Theodore Roosevelt, and we needed to get back to what Reagan brought us back to, which was the intent of the founders with our Constitution, and also articulating what Lincoln did so magnificently in arguing against the atrocity of slavery, was the ideas of the Declaration of Independence and the equality of all man under and before the law. And to me, that is an essential Republican principle that I think resonates today. And I thought that we needed to restore these initial Republican principles. And the way that we needed to do that would lead to what is a very important aspect of the New Jersey Constitutional Republicans, which is education. We need to be able to educate our citizens and basically provide the void that has been created with the elimination of civics classes and really American history in our public school systems and in our college and institutions of higher education that have been completely eliminated. And there are many people, it was necessary to be able to educate many people who've never been taught what American exceptionalism is. And American exceptionalism starts with our founding documents, starts with our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So that was really the first priority, the first pillar, if you will, the first point of the New Jersey Constitutional Republicans is restoration of the initial principles. Then it is as importantly, but we call it the second point, would be education, and educating on what it is to be a conservative, what it is to be a constitutional Republican. What type of government do we have, which is a constitutional republic rather than a democracy, so, and then everything that goes along with that. And then the third point that we wanted to institute was participation, meaning that the founders intended the people, the citizens, to be actively engaged in public policy process, in legislative processes. And now we basically have the mentality exists that, okay, I voted for someone, now they're going to go and dictate the policy. Well, that's not what the founders intended. The founders intended for a representative to be chosen, but that the public would be actively engaged with that representative, and which is basically what they refer to, what we refer to as self-governance. And that means that we are actively involved in the political policy, the process, and voting is just a small part of that. Today, it's really the only part of that, and that needs to change. And then we talk about the preservation. Number 4 pillar is preservation, which basically is we believe that the Republican Party now are the last defenders of the Constitution. The Constitution is under attack from the left, and we believe that the Republican Party has to stand up now and defend our Constitution as Abraham Lincoln did prior to the Civil War, in preserving our constitutional republic. And number 5, we need to unify all of the who want to vote Republican but have been hesitant because of the moderate or progressive views that have infiltrated the Republican Party. And we need to unify all of the people who are very single issue minded, like the Second Amendment contingent, or the right to life contingent, or fiscal conservative contingent. All the different factions, if you will, that exist out there, the people that are very interested in reinstituting legal immigration as opposed to allowing illegal immigration and so forth. So there are many people that, use names like rhinos and the establishment. We need to bring these people back into the Republican Party, and we need to grow and open the party up so that independents and unaffiliates and disgruntled Democrats, bewildered Democrats, if you will, have a place that they can call their own. And that's basically the 5 essential points of what the Constitutional Republicans, New Jersey Constitutional Republicans, are all about.
I appreciate you laying that out. And I also appreciate that in the beginning of your introduction, you mentioned that you work with the established Republican Party, and in this case, the New Jersey GOP. I think there's a lot of people out there that are a little confused, thinking that in some way you've tried to replace the New Jersey GOP, but that's not the case. You work alongside the New Jersey GOP.
Right, and that was the intent all along. I called the party chairs in the surrounding counties where I live in South Jersey to tell them what I was doing, and was anticipating some immediate support. Which, to being fair to them, they were apprehensive. They thought, oh, well, here's another splinter group, here's another Tea Party type group that is going to be hostile. But that was not my intention at all. I mean, I've been a Republican, dyed-in-the-wool Republican since I was a child, and I have a great love for the Republican Party, a great love for our great founders and fathers, and especially Abraham Lincoln and Calvin Coolidge and Ronald Reagan and all of what we would call constitutional Republicans. And I had no intent of trying to create another party. I just want to, if you will, be the fiscal and social conservative conscience of the Republican Party, and bring people, enthuse people, and make people confident in their conservative beliefs and in the initial principles of the Republican Party, and bring them back. And I'm very happy to see that people like Michael Testa, who's running for state senate, who is our Cumberland County chair, is reinvigorating these same principles that we're talking about. I see Jack Cettarelli now, who's most likely going to be running for governor again. He's talking about the very principles of Abraham Lincoln, and he's quoting speeches that Lincoln made. And these Republican principles are perpetual, Mike. They transcend they transcend generations, they transcend time, and they are as applicable. The initial Republican principles prior to the Civil War that Abraham Lincoln articulated are as applicable today as they were then. And ironically enough, Mike, we live in a country that's very, very divided right now, not so much between slavery and North and South, but now it's between a constitutional Republican government or a socialist Marxist type of government, or what they're calling a democracy or a direct democracy, and using all these different words as camouflage for what the true intent is, which is to destroy and eliminate the Constitution, which they've been slowly doing for over 100 years now. Some have been doing this deliberately, others have not been doing it deliberately. But my intent all along was to work with the Republican Party. Now I've established a relationship with Doug Steinhardt, who I think is a very sincere and good man, and he wants to do what is best for the Republican Party. He wants to see Republican representatives and Republican candidates elected into office, and that's exactly what I want to see and help all Republicans do.
As you're out there traveling the state, are you finding the difference between progressives and conservatives to be generational? For example, the whole faction that follows Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Are you finding that young people tend to be more progressive? And how do you think we can get young people into the fold?
Well, I really believe, Mike, that education again is going to be the key. It's the pillar, and what we need to basically do is to educate these younger people on what they've never heard of. They've never been taught. They've never been taught the principles, the initial principles of the Republican Party, which is essentially liberty to all, is what Lincoln articulated in many instances and in different speeches. He brought the equality principle that we're all created equal in our humanity. Now the progressives teach that the progressives want to institute equality of outcome. Well, the Republican principle was the outcome has to come from the individual, and the individual's creativity and the individual's ability to accomplish. And that the environment needs to be created by government from which that can occur, and then leave it to the individual to acquire. Whereas Marxism and statism basically, and this is what the younger people have been taught, is that the state can do it all for you. Well, we know that it can, and it attempts to do so. It does so miserably and ineffectively. It basically begins to erode on the personal liberties of each individual. And the collectivism that the younger people have been taught is basically, it's a mirage. It's an oasis that doesn't exist, and it never will exist, and it never has existed. And that's why it's important to be able to teach the younger people the other side, or the alternative to what Marxism and progressivism, which are two totally different things and to a degree, but it's important to be able to teach these younger people the difference, and they're not being taught that because the left's influence, the Marxist influence that has saturated our public education system and our schools of higher institution, our colleges and universities. So they need to be provided with the alternative view, which is the conservative or the constitutional Republican or the essential Republican principles view. And that's what it's, and that's going to take hard work, and we have to do it through social media. We have to do it through meetings and presentations that we give, and we have to be very, very diligent in doing this. And we also have to go into communities, Mike. That we have to go into the urban communities, because there are many people there are many Americans in these urban areas that are conservative in their nature, but they've been so beat down by the Democrats, and the Democrats have held such a stranglehold on representative power in these areas that they feel as though it's useless for them to be able to stand up and proclaim and promote their conservatism. And that's what we need to be able to empower these people to do in these urban areas. And you see the economic viability of much of what the current administration has been able to do in these urban areas. We have to build on that and show these people, yes, these are initial Republican principles. And it gets down to you as an individual's ability to work hard and to succeed. And government shouldn't get in the way of that. Government should promote that through limited government. So it's a matter of education, Mike, of getting the younger people to understand the initial principles of the Republican Party, because they've never been taught them.
And, it's ironic, you talk about urban areas. I'll add to that women. When you look at the unemployment numbers, and I'm in human resources, when you look at the unemployment numbers, it is minorities and women that are benefiting the most from our current employment situation, our current employment numbers. Yet when you go out into some of these urban areas or you talk to women, you'll hear people talk about Donald Trump as a racist. Donald Trump. These are the people that are benefiting the most from Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, that's and this is because of the influence of what we talk about quite a bit, and what we need to talk about more and make more people aware of these are the effects in calling anyone who disagrees with you a racist. This is the effect of cultural Marxism, which is one of its principles is the principle of critical theory, which means you have to criticize those who you cannot debate or who you cannot prove otherwise wrong through statistics and data, but you can incriminate them as being a racist, and therefore you nullify anything that they say as being true. And this is what the left and the Democrats, this is their linchpin. I mean, this is what they thrive on, because their policies, the progressive Marxist policies, don't work. They've never worked, and they never will work, because the important aspect that they ignore or that they don't believe in is the idea and the reality of human nature. And this is what the founders understood, and that's why when they created our constitutional republic and the branches of government and came up with the Constitution, and Thomas Jefferson understood this with the Declaration of Independence and the preamble, they understood man's human nature, which is a propensity and a proclivity for sin and for selfishness and for self-gain, and that needs to be restricted first by the individual himself, but then government has to be formulated with the idea that people are going to try to abuse government for their own benefit, which we see, clearly see with many elected representatives today, especially on the Democratic Party side, that are all based on special interests, and they've gotten away from representing all of the people. Now, that's an essential Republican principle, representing all of the people, not just those who are classified in some sort of a class based upon race or sex or religion or disabilities. I mean, basically, we talk about the purpose of government, and there's basically two thoughts on that. Basically, one is that and this is basically what the younger people are being taught, that the purpose of government is to provide benefits and services to those who have been deemed as being oppressed, or those who have been deemed as being the most needed by those electing them. And that would be, different races need to be taken care of, different, the sexes need to be taken care of, and the purpose of government is to take care of these people give them the benefits at the expense of everybody else. So now there's this great separation. It's much like the Confederacy was. And the Republican Party says, no, everybody needs to be treated equal. It's an equal playing field for everyone. We don't need to help these particular people out. And now, Mike, what has happened is that the Democrats have gone so far with this idea of the purpose of government to benefit some people at the expense of others that now they include illegal aliens in with those that are oppressed and need to be saved, if you will, or need to be provided for. in opposition to the oppressor, which basically the oppressor in their mind is the people who are paying and subsidizing these different programs through their tax dollars. So this is why we see this great divide. It's basically a derivative of the purpose of government. What is the purpose of government? Is it to support and benefit those who are deemed as being the most needed, or is it for the good of the common good of all the people? There's a clear distinction between those two purposes of government.
You made a great segue when you brought up illegal aliens into my next question for you, and it's changing direction a little bit, but I hear the question a lot in regards to state rights versus the federal government's rights. So, for example, Governor Murphy and New Jersey Democrats have made New Jersey a sanctuary state, ignoring federal immigration law. They're about to vote on legalized marijuana, which remains federally legal. Do Murphy and New Jersey Democrats have the right to pass bills that oppose federal law?
Of course not. It's unconstitutional. The Constitution takes precedence, Mike, and I've said this before. I've created videos that have looked into this situation. We talked about this 4 or 5 months ago. You can find the videos on New Jersey Constitutional Republicans on YouTube, and we did 2 or 3 videos on this illegal immigration crisis in New Jersey. And what it is, Mike, is these acts that Phil Murphy and Attorney General Gruber have imposed upon New Jersey citizens. These are acts of confederacy. These are violations against federal law that are designed and created by Congress, which has been given the constitutional responsibility of creating the laws of naturalization. These abrogations of separating the cooperation between local, state, and federal law agencies, a separation is a clear act of confederacy. It's no different than what the Confederacy wanted to accomplish with the separation of the states in 1861 at the moment that Abraham Lincoln was inaugurated. These are abrogations of federal law designed to unify the states and designed to protect existing American citizens. Now, we all know why that the Democrats are doing this. It's not because they have kind hearts and they believe that, and then the reason they believe in open borders, it's because they're looking
for
vote for power.
Yeah,
right? They're going to vote for. That's right. They're looking for power. That's all that motivates the Democratic Party, and it has for many, many decades. And the idea is that we're going to bring these people into the country. We're going to allow them to be here. But currently, Michael, and you know this, that we're subsidizing their education already. We subsidize medical costs for them. We're giving them free legal counsel to as they are abrogating federal law being in this country. We're going to help represent. We're going to spend the money to represent their so-called rights, which is an American citizen. You know, they haven't fulfilled the laws of naturalization. They haven't gone through the process, as so many law-abiding and American citizens who've become American citizens have done. But a lot of it has to do, Michael, with the fact that we've created this environment of lawlessness, and it's basically been a derivative of 7 amnesties that have been granted by the Congress and the presidents. And remarkably, and unfortunately, starting with Ronald Reagan in 1986, there have been seven subsequent amnesties that have created this whole environment of lawlessness. And this, again, is the objective of the Democratic Party, to say, okay, well, we're going to grant all these people amnesty. Therefore, thereby changing the voter demographics throughout the country, especially in the southwest part of the country. And of course, the great goal is to get to swing Texas over to the Democratic Party, which would be a disaster. But the idea is to get these areas, get these illegal aliens, and now they don't even have to become illegal in the state of New Jersey. All they have to do is sign up for a driver's license, and then they're automatically registered to vote. These are all covert acts, Mike, against the Constitution, against the federal Constitution, which takes precedent, and then our state Constitution, and it's all perpetuated by the Democrats, who have a lust for power. They want to eliminate the two-party system. They want to take over, and they want to eliminate. And they love to use the word democracy, but really what they're looking for is totalitarianism, and they're looking for a one-party system.
Are you as surprised as I am that the federal government has done absolutely nothing to stop New Jersey, for example, but these sanctuary states and these sanctuary laws across the country?
What the federal government has to do is just stop subsidizing New Jersey. Don't give New Jersey the federal benefits or the federal dollars that they're supposed to get, because they're abrogating federal law. They're breaking federal law, and those federal laws are designed to protect the existing of New Jersey citizens. And this is why I find it interesting when certain candidates for Senate last year are saying, well, New Jersey doesn't get its fair share from the federal government. New Jersey doesn't get enough money from Washington. Well, guess what? New Jersey shouldn't get anything from Washington, as far as I'm concerned, until they start to enforce the laws that are already on the books that are designed to protect existing American citizens, in this case, New Jersey citizens. That's the responsibility. That is a basic, fundamental responsibility of government, and one of the few responsibilities that the founders intentionally wanted for government to perform, which has become this monstrosity of intervention and intrusionism and obtrusion. So the basic concept is that the government was there to provide the protection of the people. It's not even we don't do that in New Jersey at all, man. Now it's bring in anyone who's unlawful, give them a driver's license, give them free health care, give them education, give them free college, give them all these different things, and it's all done in anticipation of giving them amnesty and therefore creating a voter base that will continually vote Democrat. But the federal government needs to stand up and say, you must obey the federal laws, because New Jersey is a Confederate state. So is California and New York. These are Confederate states, Mike, and we need to understand there's no difference between their abrogation of federal law and what occurred in the 1860s, initiating the Civil War.
And the average citizen in New Jersey, myself, who is beyond angry at Murphy allocating $2.1 million to, as you said, oppose federal government to defend those that are facing detention or deportation. Murphy, to me, spends more of his time opposing the federal government than running the state of New Jersey. We are now the number one state that people are leaving. This state is heading for disaster. Other than voting Republican, which it seems to me that we've got a long way to go in that regard to really get Republican control in this state. I don't know what the average citizen can do. I mean, I personally am very frustrated. I don't want to leave New Jersey. I was born and raised in New Jersey. I love New Jersey, but it's very frustrating to be a conservative in this state, watch what Murphy and the Democrats are doing to this state, and be completely helpless while you're writing that tax check.
Right. Well, but the thing is, you're not being helpless at all, Mike. This show that you're doing is vitally important. I mean, you're educating and you're getting the message out. And we have to realize, all of us have to come together to realize that as Republicans, we are the final defense. We are the guardian. We are the shield of the Constitution. If we don't step up now, if we don't get candidates who are going to be committed to initial Republican principles and preserving the Constitution, if we don't get, Mike, candidates after election who put their right hand up and swear and put their left hand on the Bible and swear to uphold and defend the Constitution, if we don't have sincere candidates and elected representatives who do that, then we are in peril. And this should be enough motivation to give us the impetus to jump over the hill and over the mountain and say, listen, we have to preserve our constitutional republic. We have to preserve our Constitution. We have to preserve the document that gives us our ability to fulfill our God-given, unalienable natural rights, which don't ever change. These are perpetual principles, and we have to be reinvigorated. Republicans need to learn to fight again, and we fight we fight for what we know is right, and this is what Lincoln talked about. Jack Ciattarelli's bringing it back. The idea that might makes right, and the idea that what we believe in is good principles for everyone and gives everybody the opportunity to live their lives and to earn an income and to have a home and to raise their family and to live their life in a peaceable and safe environment. We have to be motivated to do this. New Jersey has hit rock bottom as far as leadership is concerned. It's because the Democrats are in charge. So we have to rally as Republicans around the initial principles that Lincoln articulated, which was liberty for all, and everyone has personal accountability and responsibility within the public policy making process. We have to be involved. You talk about the March Against Murphy that's coming up, and I did a short video on that earlier in the week. And basically what I was saying was that the people who are going to be in Trenton on Tuesday are exercising their First Amendment right, which Clause 4, which talks about peaceably demonstrating together collectively, and also the fifth clause of the First Amendment, which is which has been forgotten in many ways and deliberately done so by our branches of government, because they actually talk about a regress of differences, a petition to regress differences that the citizens are able to do against all three branches of the government. And this is exactly an example of what's happening. They're talking about written grievances, just as Thomas Jefferson wrote down on the different grievances in the Declaration of Independence against the King of England. Well, we have that constitutional right today as citizens, that we can also petition the government for a redress or a complaint against them for not, in this case, defending our natural rights, which gets into, making sure that we adhere to the laws of naturalization, protecting existing American citizens from the crimes of illegal aliens, and the ability to own your own property, which incidentally, money is your property. And the enormous amount of taxes that are being taken from people. We can go on and on about all the examples of the violations of natural rights. But the fact is that we have to unify around the idea of protecting the original intent of our founders, which has been completely assaulted by the Democrats and the left. And we have to be invigorated to do this. We can't become demoralized. We can't give up the ship. I can see why a lot of people want to leave New Jersey, but for those of us who want to stay, I have to stay. My 92-year-old father's here. My mother has my wife has her 92-year-old mother. We're not leaving them, and we have a family that are here. So New Jersey can be an example of a restitution of the original intent and purposes of our Constitution and the intent of our founders. We can redo that, but the Republican Party has to lead it. We're the only hope. And we have to fight.
JR, would you agree that we have to take that fight to a different level? And what I mean by that is Republicans tend to speak on fact. You and I can sit here all day long and talk about facts and statistics and figures, but Democrats tend to talk about emotional issues, and they tend to get people emotional about those issues. Do you feel we need to change the way that we fight that battle?
I think what we need to do, Mike, is to articulate again these initial principles of the Republican Party, which are individual responsibility and accountability. Get away from the idea that the government has a purpose to give you benefits, because it doesn't work. It's too expensive. We have a $21 trillion debt, much of it because of benefits and entitlements. So we need to get people to think about their individual responsibility and accountability. You've heard of Jordan Peterson, correct? The psychologist from the University of Toronto, and he's become very very famous because he's talking about his books have sold, and many young men have been buying these books, and he's talking about personal accountability and responsibility, and it starts with you. When you look in the mirror in the morning, what are you going to do to make yourself better? What kind of environment are you going to create and maintain so that you're able to be a success? So it starts with a person, and then it grows into a group. And this is what's going to be essential about getting the Republican message out. It starts in the local level. It starts with the Republican organizations at the local level, and they start talking about these principles of individual accountability and responsibility, about treating everybody equally under the law. You know, the 14th Amendment is a Republican amendment, and it guarantees due process for all persons. So as far as I'm concerned, Mike, there's a lot of emotional issues that we as Republicans can need to amplify, and we need to speak out on. And I've heard Jack Ciattarelli talk about this recently, which I'm very pleased to hear. And he says we have an emotional, a great emotional impact, and we have a great emotional part and piece to play within governance and within policy making. And what more emotional issue would there be than to protect the right of the life of the child awaiting its birth in its mother's womb? I mean, what is more emotionally charged than that? I mean, the Constitution protects the natural right of life, the unalienable God-given right to life, and this is an issue that Republicans should be coalescing around. And there is a difference there with people who believe in the opposite of pro-life, unfortunately. But they have to apply the same principles of the Declaration of the unalienable right to life of those who are awaiting their birth as much as those who are already born, and the elderly who have a right to be able to live their lives as God sees fit and gives them the time in which to do that. So and then the idea of the illegal alien invasion. I mean, that's an emotional issue. We had the idea of the government telling an employer that you have to pay a person a certain amount of money is completely foreign to the intent of the founders. And this is going to be an economic disaster for employers throughout the state with this $15 mandated minimum wage. I talk to business owners every week now who are saying, I'm not going to be able to stay in business. I can't pay these people this much money. And what the Democrats fail to realize, Mike, is that when they say that they want the people at the lowest end of the wage scale to make a certain amount of money, that also affects the employer because he has to raise the salaries and the price and the wages of those who are already making $15 an hour or more. So everything incrementally goes up, and it makes it even more tough for employers to hire employees, which has a devastating effect on the economy. And the Democrats don't take responsibility for this because those who are making these laws aren't affected by a $15 mandated minimum wage. And that's what we've got away from.
I'm from the Jersey Shore originally. I'm from the Jersey Shore originally. When I look at the $15 minimum wage and the short-term rental tax, to me that's a Jersey Shore killer.
It is.
I mourn for the place that I grew up looking at just those two taxes alone.
Right. And you talk about, with this last question, which is an outstanding question, what can Republicans do to meet these emotional issues? Well, guess what? If the Republican Party can't defend the Constitution and we can't reestablish ourselves as the majority party, well, then you're going to lose everything. And you're not going to be able to exercise your right to life, your right to liberty, and your ability to pursue happiness because you won't be able to live in an environment. You won't be able to have a home. It'll be absolutely impossible to be able to pay to live in this state. And guess what, Mike? It gets back to that purpose of government again. Well, why are taxes so high? Because the Democrats believe the purpose of government is to benefit and subsidize certain groups over others. And that, and again, is an idea of the Confederacy. It's an idea of separation. It's an idea of secession and an idea of division. Whereas Republicans say, well, the law has to be equal for everybody. We're going to provide a safe environment from which you can use your own industry and use your own talents to achieve what you're able to do for yourself. And this is what the message we have to get back to people. It's not about what government can do for you. It's about what you can do for yourself and what you do for your country and your local community.
JR, we have to take a quick break. Will you stick with us?
Certainly.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more of The Informed Conservative and our guest, JR Carman, along with your calls at 646-564-9883.
Human Capital Consultants is the premier talent acquisition and human resources consulting partner to startup and mid-market organizations across the United States. Our mission is to provide strategies to attract, grow, and retain top talent and build high-performing teams. Regardless if your need is for development of a total corporate talent acquisition or HR strategy and function, in evaluation and reengineering of your current talent acquisition or HR strategy and processes, a total or partial outsourced solution, talent acquisition or HR consulting services, an interim talent acquisition or HR resource, or candidate sourcing to supplement your internal team, let us show you how we've helped our clients achieve top human capital effectiveness. Visit Human Capital Consultants on the web, www.humancapitalconsultants.com, or call 856-254-3290.
Mama's Balls makes meatballs like Mama used to make. Balls, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, pasta, and more. You can't beat Mama's meat. Visit them on the web at mamasmeatballs.com or at 2673 Haddonfield Road in Pennsauken, and tell Mikey Balls you heard about Mama's Balls on The Informed Conservative.
What happens when a former GOP chairman and a political operative co-host a radio show?
You get a lot of BS.
If you had a lot of BS, so have we. Bob and Steve in the morning, Saturday, 8 a.m.
Tune in Saturday mornings, where you'll hear our voice.
And we want to hear yours on The Bob and Steve Show.
Tune in to The Bob and Steve Show every Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. on Cruisin' 92.1 WVLT in South Jersey, or online at WVLT.com.
It might be cold outside, but it's hot in here with the Informed Conservative.
My pappy said, son, you're going to drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln.
I have a classic car that I'm very particular about. I don't take it to just any car wash or detailer. 2 years ago, I discovered Butch's Lube & Wash in Colts Neck. Their detailer did an incredible job. Butch's Lube & Wash has been in business since 1957 and is a family-run operation. They strive to provide the best care for your vehicle and use the best earth-friendly materials and clean, filtered, softened water that is never reused or recycled. They offer affordable packages as well as an a la carte menu that allows you to tailor their car wash services to meet your needs and budget. Visit Butch's Lube & Wash at 170 Newman Springs Road in Colts Neck or call 732-741-0103 and tell them that you heard about Butch's Lube & Wash on The Informed Conservative.
I'm so excited to be hopping on here, Senator Sanders' account, and we're going to flip this seat red in November.
We're back with the Informed Conservative and our guest, JR Carman. If you'd like to speak to JR, give us a call, 646-564-9883. JR, on a federal level, Democrats are now talking about abolishing the Electoral College. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, we've actually, I've talked about this quite a bit, done a couple of I did a short 2-minute lesson on this that we put up Facebook Live a couple of weeks ago. And this idea has gained momentum with the National Voters Act. It's been pushed basically by it's being pushed by the Democratic Party. And basically there's been I believe now there's up to 11 states now that have voted to put their delegates or have their delegates vote for the winner of the national popular election, even though their states would vote for the other candidate who doesn't get the majority vote, even at the expense of the people's pick, the people's choice, the voting majority of the state, would give it to the national winner. I mean, this is a situation in which direct democracy is really what the intent is, and it's a complete. The founders went to great lengths, Mike, to make sure that there would be a checks and balance system on the election of the president, and that's why they formulated the Electoral College. Now, what these states are doing is they're circumventing the Constitution, as we read in Article 5 about the Electoral College, and they're circumventing the Constitution. And again, these are acts of confederacy that the Democrats have in their DNA. I mean, it's been there for well over 100 years now, and the idea is to circumvent the Constitution in order to get a direct democracy established. And if Hillary Clinton hadn't lost in 2016, and if Al Gore hadn't lost in 2000, you wouldn't see this movement at all towards or as vigorously as you see it now coming from the Democrats and trying to abolish the Electoral College. The Electoral College, Mike, assures that the farmer in Wyoming and the person who's working in an industrial environment outside of a urban area, the people that live in regular downtown USA have a stake in electing their president, as opposed to the cities where the highest population concentrations exist, like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, which are all 100%, if you will, democratically controlled, deciding the choice for president of the United States. So that's why it's so important that we do everything we can to preserve the Electoral College. You know, the founders created the idea of the amendment process for changing the Constitution, as opposed to what the Democrats want to do, which is to divert and go around the Constitution every opportunity they get. But it's important that everyone has a say. The people who live in North Dakota and Montana and live in the rural areas in Alabama and Mississippi, and the people who live up in Maine and throughout the country, everyone needs to be able to have a say in who their executive, the president of the United States is, and we can't give up this Electoral College. It's vigorous. It's a vigorous fight that we must win.
And you're absolutely right. It was those people in those rural areas that elected President Trump. And the meme's been going around Facebook. The Electoral College was great for 240 years until Hillary lost the election.
Yeah, exactly. And it's another way in which the founders assured a good check and balance system. And it assures that the president, those candidates who are running for president, have to make a campaign stop in these rural areas to get these votes. It gives everybody an opportunity to play the process within what they call this democratic process. And in that respect, its truth needs to count and needs to matter, not just the people in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And that is what the founders went to great lengths to preserve, to give all the people, regardless of where they lived in this great nation, a stake in who their president was.
Republican candidates in New Jersey will be declaring their candidacy very, very soon. Some already have. Who are the Republican candidates in New Jersey that have declared so far or talked about the fact that they're going to run that you support, that you believe have the best chance this year?
Well, we have the special state senatorial race here in LD1, and we have Mr. Michael Testa, who's the Republican candidate, and he'll be going up against Mr. Andresiak, who took the spot that Jeff Van Drew had as a result of his victory in the Congressional District 1 or CD2 race rather against Seth Grossman, sending him to the House of Representatives in Washington. So that opened up that state Senate seat, and we have this special election. You know, all the assembly seats are up for election this year, but this is the one state senatorial election that's up. And to me, this not only has state ramifications, but this election has national implications. Michael Testa exemplifies everything that a new, invigorated, enthused, constitutional conservative Republican exemplifies. He's young. He's extremely knowledgeable. He's an attorney who knows the law inside and out. He's a very successful attorney. He believes in the Constitution. He believes in the perpetual principles of the Declaration of Independence. He believes in initiating and reinvigorating the initial principles of Abraham Lincoln. He is leading, in my estimation, Mike, he is leading a Reagan revolution here in South Jersey in LD1. This is a huge opportunity that we have to follow through with as voters and citizens in electing Michael to this state Senate seat. I know Michael very well. I'm proud to call him a friend, and he is exemplifying and leading the Republican resurgence in New Jersey, and starts here in LD1. So I'm very, we're very enthused about Michael's candidacy, and he's someone who, if you don't live in LD1, you're going to want to morally support and do everything you can, because he is going to be a leader. The minute that he steps in the State House in New Jersey, and I'll tell you, Mike, when he puts his hand up to swear, and puts his hand up and to swear, and puts his left hand on the Bible, you can be assured that Michael is going to uphold his oath in defending and upholding the Constitution. And we have a great new Republican leader right here in LD1 who we're very enthused. And we also has two outstanding assembly candidates. It's a whole ticket with Mayor Eric Simonson in Lower Township in Cape May, and also Antoine McClellan, who is a committeeman on the Ocean City board, and he is a fine young man, and so is Mayor Simonson. These men are committed Republicans. They believe in the initial principles of the Republican Party. They talk about Mayor Simonson is a great admirer of Frederick Douglass, who was a great friend of Abraham Lincoln and a great advisor of Abraham Lincoln and a great diehard Republican. And so these men, all three of these men on this ticket, this is an outstanding ticket for LD1. And they're all committed to the initial principles of the Republican Party, and their message is resonating down here, and people are starting to, Republicans who've been beaten so badly down, we're girding up our loins, if you will, and we're starting to get invigorated, and realizing that we can fight and that we can win elections, and it's starting down here in LD1.
I've had conversations with Michael Testa's campaign, and we're nailing down a date for him to be on this podcast, so I'm very excited about that.
Great. That's great. He'll be a great guest.
JR, we have about 5 minutes left. One of the questions I really wanted to ask you is the average Republican voter in this state, the average conservative in this state, or even moderate in this state, who looks at Murphy and the Democrats and says, this is not the state that I want to live in. Not everybody's going to go get a blog or a podcast or form an organization like you have. What can the average person do to help elect Republicans in this state, besides the obvious going out to vote?
Well, they need to talk about, they need to share with others. They need to share with their family members and their fellow, their acquaintances and their friends appropriately. They need to be able to, basically we all are educators. We have to educate our families. We educate our family, our friends, and we do so in a respectful way and in an unobtrusive way. But we have to, first of all, the most important thing is we have to get educated, all of us. And then we take that education, our knowledge, and we pass it forth to others in order to do that. But it's important to get involved with your local Republican organizations. That's the other thing that I would suggest. Everybody who's just goes and votes and then that's it until the next time they go to vote, they need to get involved with their local Republican organizations. They need to strengthen these organizations. They need to be involved. They need to be involved with the process of sharing campaign materials and sharing information about candidates, and creating a rapport with those candidates. Getting to know them and be able to call those potential representatives friends. and the representatives want to cultivate that relationship with their constituents. So it's a relationship, but it's basically the people need to start getting involved with their local Republican organizations. They're everywhere. They're in every county. They're in municipalities. They're in townships. They can join NJCR. They can get involved with what we're doing, and we're going to start moving statewide with the organization. And just get involved with these organizations as a support vehicle, but also as a vehicle in which to go out and convince others, let's be part of this. You have to be part of preserving your constitutional republic, and every individual can partake in that.
JR, we have a caller. Caller from
Great.
the 908 area code. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Jim from Hunterdon County.
Hi, Jim. Good morning. We have about 2 minutes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to JR that listening to him speak today was like a B12 shot for me. I just wanted to stand up and cheer.
Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate that. And we can win this. We can restore our republic. We can preserve our republic for our posterity. But it takes hard work, and we're committed to doing it.
Absolutely. And I was very heartened to hear that your group is working with NJGOP, and the chairman will be speaking at your meeting. Yes,
we're very excited about that. We're enthused. Doug is a great guy, and he really wants to see the best for the party. He gets a lot of untrue and perhaps he gets some poor reviews from people, but they're coming from people who don't know him. I mean, if they knew this man, they would say, Doug is a straight-up guy. He tells the truth, and he really wants to. He gives his heart and soul to being chairman of the NJGOP, and I'm there to support him and work with him.
JR, we have 1 minute left. Give us all your website where we can read more about your organization. And quickly, I saw you announce this morning that you have a radio show that will be starting.
Yes, we have a radio show that will be starting at 92.1 WVLT in Vineland, New Jersey. I'll be getting, for those who are out of the area, South Jersey gets a good coverage for South Jersey. I'll be getting a recording of that put up. But the best way to get a hold of us and to see what we're doing is to look at us on Facebook at NewJerseyConstitutionalRepublicans.com, or excuse me, New Jersey Constitutional Republicans on Facebook. We do have a .com. We do have a website. It's not quite up to date as it should be. Right now, we're in the stage of starting fundraising, and I'm getting more people to help. I've basically been doing everything on my own. You can go to YouTube, New Jersey Constitutional Republicans. Please sign up on that and become a follower on YouTube, subscribing to our channel. But basically, the best thing to do is you can reach me at John Robert Carman on Facebook. And then also the New Jersey Constitutional Republicans on Facebook. That has the most up-to-date information about what we're doing, and, of course, the radio show that we're starting. And, we're looking for bigger and better things as we continue to grow and become more renowned in the state.
JR, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. The hour is up. Thank you for listening to the Informed Conservative podcast. We'll be back next Saturday morning and every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And also be sure to check out the Informed Conservative blog at informedconservative.blog.
Thank you for listening to the Informed Conservative podcast. Visit us online at informedconservative.us. Follow us on Twitter at ConserveBlog and join the conversation at our Informed Conservative Facebook page.